Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thanking Him for everything that He had given us and continues to give us, and for providing to us an understanding of who we are and who He is and where we're going through what He had revealed subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we send salah and salam upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sallam, who was the deliverer of this message, who taught us how to live. He taught us who Allah Azza wa Jal is. It is through Him that we understand all that is important and foundational in life today. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless this gathering and allow us to learn something today that will help us inshaAllah for tomorrow. Not make it simply something that we hear but we do not implement, or does not touch our hearts, or does not benefit us. So the important part of knowledge is that whenever you are seeking knowledge, you want to learn something new, whether you are buying a book, listening to a lecture, walking to a masjid, to a lecture, you want to ask yourself, why is it that I'm doing all of this? It's not simply that I want to accumulate information. It's not simply that I want to know more. Knowing more is great, because the more that you know, the better equipped you will be, inshallah, to act. But it's not simply only to know, because you can store information. But if that information does not benefit you and I, the problem is that it will be witness against us. You knew about these things, but you did not do anything about it. So yes, learn more and continue to learn more until the last breath that we're going to take into this life. But always try to do it with the intention that I want to learn something that will benefit me. So inshallah, the intention for this lecture is that I want to take at least one thing. Right? Let me just take one thing, inshallah, that I will try to implement, that will change me, that will I be able to share with others and will be able to help them. So the title of this lecture is Tazkiyah, Do's and Don'ts. And before we go into the do's and don'ts, some of the do's and don'ts, we want to understand, well, what is Tazkiyah? And why should we even bother? Why should we care about it? Because once that is established, then we can talk about what to do about it and what not to do. But it doesn't make sense to tell you what to do about it and what not to do about it. For instance, drive a car. If there is no reason for you to drive a car, would you drive it? Unless you're really bored and you just want to go around, right? But if there is no purpose, you wouldn't be driving it. You wouldn't go anywhere if there's no purpose. So before knowing why I should do tazkiyah and how I shouldn't do tazkiyah, what is tazkiyah and why is it important? So tazkiyah, to simply put it, is both purification and self-improvement. Okay, and we can spend a lot of time talking about what tazkiyah is in the Quran and the Sunnah, but that's not our topic for today. But it's both an improvement of the self and a purification of it, and both are connected. You need to purify in order to improve, and you cannot improve without purifying. That's what tazkiyah is about. But it's not simply and only a general sense of purification and improvement. It's one where you're doing this for the sake of whom? Allah Azza wa Jal. You're doing this, it's a process, because you can improve in very different ways. You can improve as a parent, you can improve as a professional, you can improve in very different ways, but for different reasons. And that's one of the things that we'll be talking about in the do's and don'ts. You can do it for very different reasons. You're going to try to purify yourself, but maybe simply because you live a stressful life and you don't want to live that stress anymore. But when we're talking about tazkiyah, we're talking about Islamic tazkiyah, we're doing this for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, to gain His favor, to enter Jannah and save ourselves from hellfire. So that is what tazkiyah. So why is tazkiyah important? Because when you think about it and you read the Quran, you read the Sunnah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the mission of him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the things that he was supposed to do and he did and he lived it is tazkiyah. Allah Azza wa Jal makes it a mission of His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. He had sent among them a prophet who is from them, reciting the verses of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, and He gives them tazkiyah. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wasn't only simply delivering a message. What was he doing with the companions around him, and also those who followed the message of Islam, is that he was teaching them what? Tazkiyah. So tazkiyatun nafs, the purification of this soul, and its improvement, the Prophet ﷺ spent time teaching it. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. So the one who purifies himself or herself succeeds. And the one who doesn't, what happens to them? They will lose. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. So the one who fails to purify himself and herself to the extent that the self is buried in sin, buried in trouble, then he has lost. So success in this life and in the hereafter is premised on tazkiyah. Entering Jannah is based on tazkiyah. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam makes a dua in the Quran, and he says, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Do not disgrace me when people will be resurrected, on the day of resurrection. Do not disgrace me. It's asking Allah Azza wa Jal. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. On the day when no mal, no money, no wealth, and no children will be able to help and benefit. Except مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Except for one who had come to Allah with a sound heart. وَأُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And then heaven is brought near or nearer to those people of taqwa. So notice what Ibrahim alayhi salam is saying here. He says, do not humiliate me, disgrace me on the day of judgment. When are you disgraced on the day of judgment? When you're taken where? Taken to hellfire. And also if your crimes are exposed. Right? What is disgrace? What do we consider to be disgrace in this life? Is what? Exactly, embarrassing situations when what you're trying to hide becomes public. That's disgrace. So he says, do not disgrace me on the day of judgment, because there is that possibility of what? That all the sins that we're trying to hide and we don't want anybody to find about. We're hiding them, we're keeping them very, very close to us. And then on that day it's a possibility that they become what? Public. It's possible that they become public. And for some people, it will become public. So he says, do not expose me to this on the day when nothing will be able to help you. So all the things that we're trying to collect in this life. And he mentioned two things, right? Mal and banun, money and children. Because these are the two main things that will be able to give you power. If you have a lot of children and they support you, so you have manpower. But also if you have money. So he says, even those things that would help in this life, they would not help then. Except who? One who comes to Allah with what? Qalbin salim, sound heart. So if you do not work on your heart, if I don't work on my heart, then we will be missing that element that will save us on the day of judgment and will bring us to Jannah. And so immediately after, he says, the sound heart, he says, and heaven was brought near to people of taqwa. It means what? That is, subhanAllah, the beauty of the Quran. Sometimes when you're reading it, you don't notice how Allah puts some ayahs next to each other. Because Allah says there, heaven was brought close to the people of taqwa. And He brought this ayah closest to the people who come with a sound heart. He brought this to that. Brought it also close. It means that this is your path to Jannah. Jannah there. And this also, by the way, is your path to Jannah here. A couple of times I mentioned, there are two types of Jannahs. The real Jannah, of course, over there, when a person dies and they are brought back to life, and Allah is pleased with them, they go to Jannah. But there is some of the early Muslims, they talked about a Jannah in this life. And it's a sense of feeling that you have when you're close to Allah, when you've purified your heart, that you feel simply happy and satisfied. You're not afraid, you're not sad, you're not tormented, you're not anxious. You simply are what? Experiencing some of the bliss in Jannah, here. Why is that possible here? It's be absolutely perfect over there. But why is it possible here? When will it be possible here? The same reason that will put you in Jannah over there, which is that sound heart, will allow you to enter this Jannah that is over here. when you're close to Allah, when you purified your heart, you're not envious, you're not angry, you're not hateful. When you have got rid of all of these things, your heart will be at peace. And so you'll be happy. So you'll be able to taste some of Jannah here before you enter it over there. So some of the early Muslim scholars, they've said something similar. So there's a Jannah in this life that if you do not enter it here, you'll not enter it over there. Huh? So think about a time when you felt it. It could be in Ramadan. It could be when you were reading the Quran. It could be when you're praying at night. It could be at one time when you made dua and you felt something. And you said to yourself, I wish I could feel like this all the time. Because then you would say to yourself, I don't care now what happens. I'm just satisfied. Huh? And you may not have been rich. You may not have been healthy. You may not have been, but still you said, I'm happy at this moment. And I wish this could continue. Consider why that feeling came. And it came because you were closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. And coming closer to Allah is the essence of tazkiyah. Purifying the self. Because the self without Allah Azza wa Jal will be in trouble. So that's why it's important, and that's why we should care about it. And that's also why tazkiyah is not a luxury, by the way. Tazkiyah is the purpose of every single ibadah that we do. Why do we pray? Ask yourself, why do we pray? Why do we give zakah? And by the way, the zakah comes to the same root. Why do you give zakah? Why do you go to Hajj? For a lot of us, it's an obligation. I need to do it and I'm done. But when only it's treated as an obligation, it's like sort of a debt. I need to pay and I'm leaving. When it's only treated like that, we fail to benefit from the tazkiyah element in them, because Allah did not institute, if you think about it, Allah did not institute any of these or all of these ibadat simply for them to be performed physically. Otherwise, why would I pay so much money to go to Hajj and it's exhausting and then I come back? And the only thing that I did is just I spent money and I spent time. But that is it. I come back with nothing. Allah did not give Hajj or did not give Salah to simply for me and you to perform something physically. He wanted something from it. He wanted the tazkiyah of the heart. So what are some of the things that Salah does? I'm not going to talk at length about Salah, but just one thing. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Salah forbids sin, prohibits it, protection from it. So if we pray, but we find that our salah was unable to protect us from munkar and fahsha. I mean, I prayed and I cheat after. I pray and I lie after. I pray and I insult and hurt people after. If I found that I prayed and I still continue to do this after my salah, what is the problem? The problem is with the salah itself, that when I performed it, I did not perform it right. It didn't touch my heart. It did not go deep inside. So it did not do any nahi about fahsha and munkar. It didn't stop. It didn't stop me. And that's why if you ever ask yourself, I pray and I pray and I pray, but it's not helping. I read Quran, but it's not helping. It means that I and you, when we complain about it, we're doing it the wrong way. So it's not the medicine, it's how you're taking the medicine. The medicine not being taken right. You're not regular. You're not taking it according to the doctor's prescription. You skip some time, but you take it some other time, or you overdose, underdose, whatever it is. So if you follow it the way that Allah Azza wa Jal talks about it, the way that He wants you to perform it, but actually to go and penetrate your heart, then it will benefit you and me. So that's the benefit of all the ibadah. So, inshallah, we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts, inshallah now. And the do is, you should do tazkiyah. The don'ts are of two types. Those who don't do tazkiyah at all, they don't care about it, right? Or those who are interested, they want to, but they do it the wrong way. So either that, you don't do it at all, you don't care about it, don't pay any attention to it. And that's sort of the situation of a lot of humanity. They just simply don't care about it. Or for us, may Allah make us among the us, who care about tazkiyah, there's a portion among us who go the wrong way about it. They don't do it the right way. So they still miss the target. They miss the target. Allah may still reward them for the intention, the effort, but it does not bring a lot of fruit. Why? Because it's wrong. So some of the do's and don'ts. The do, and when we mention something that this is what you're supposed to do, the opposite is don't, right? So it's supposed to be based on the right belief and action. So if the belief is inaccurate or in the action is inaccurate, that is not going to bring tazkiyah. So the first part is the right belief. And a lot of us, subhanAllah, when we think about tazkiyah, we fail to stress that the right belief should be there. That is, if I don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, can I have tazkiyah? No. Allah Azza wa Jal is the giver of tazkiyah. Who purifies your heart and mind? Who allows you to repent? Who? Allah. Who forgives my and your sin? Allah Azza wa Jal. So without the right belief, you'll not know who to ask. You won't even ask Allah Azza wa Jal for anything. You're asking the wrong way. So you need to have the right belief about Allah Azza wa Jal. That's why Tawheed in Allah, having the right belief, to begin even before you do anything. Before we start doing anything. Having the right belief is the basis of tazkiyah. Who is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? How should I honor him? Who is Allah Azza wa Jal? How should I worship him? Who are the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? All of these things are foundational in you and I pursuing our tazkiyah. So the right belief. And also the right action. That is, what's the right worship that Allah Azza wa Jal loves? Not any type of worship. Can I worship Allah the way that I want? Or the way He wants? Right? The way He wants, right? So it's not simply based on reason. And it's not only based on emotions. Okay? And this, by the way, I'm mentioning it in one or two statements, but this is so important. We can spend a lecture on it. That it's not simply based on reason, or not simply based on emotions. That is, I think that's right, so it should be right. Or I feel this is right, so it should be right. Does that work? No. That's why I say, sometimes salah is not allowed. Right? When is salah not allowed? Give me examples. Right, there are prohibited times when you cannot pray. After Asr, after Fajr, right? When the sun reaches its zenith until it moves, right? That's prohibited. You cannot pray. You cannot pray. You're not allowed to. But it is salah. Oh, you can tell me it's not, but it's not allowed. Allah told you what? Not at this time. Or there are times when fasting is not allowed. It becomes a sin. Fasting. But Allah loves. Can save you from hellfire. If you fast one day, Ramadan is coming, right? If you fast one day, fi sabilillah, as some scholars have said, for the sake of Allah, meaning with all of your heart, that's the entire day was that, Allah saves you from hellfire. Well, just one day can give you this. Yet, there are days when if you fast, the sin. When are those days? Right, days of Eid. You cannot fast, it's haram. It's a sin, you actually earn a sin if you fast. Right? So, not every single ibadah I imagine it should be, so it should be just because I think so or because I feel so. And I sort of liken this to what? Combination to a safe. How do you open the safe? When you have the right combination. Okay? So your ibadah is like that combination. You do not know what Allah loves and what Allah hates until He who? Allah tells you. Otherwise, it's a complete mystery to you. Right? You believe that or not? Think about it. So Allah did not tell you about salah and how to perform it. That He wants you to fast. That there is zakah. That there is hajj. He didn't tell you. And you know, okay, there is a God. How do I worship Him? How does He want me to? What does He like? What does He hate? Would you know? No. Until He tells you. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why it should be based on the right belief and the right action. So if the right belief is missing, tazkiyah is missing. If the right action is missing, so if there's innovative practices, I introduce, I think, it's going to purify my heart, it's not going to do this. Because what purifies your heart is what Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has done. Because again, who was the teacher? He was sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he told you about. You know, if you consider, some of the Sahaba have said, One of the people of the book was sort of, either it was a criticism or something. He said, your prophet had taught you everything, even how to do what? Who knows it? Even how to do what? Even how to go to the bathroom. He taught you everything, even how to go to the bathroom. So that Sahabi, radiyallahu anhu, did not consider this to be, criticism. He says, yes, he taught us how to do it, and he explained to him. You don't use your left hand, you do this, you do this, you do this, right? He taught him. So if this small thing, right, the Prophet ﷺ had taught it, then he had also taught you how to reach Allah Azza wa Jalla and how to purify your heart. So if there is anything beneficial there, you find it in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Thing, that is a big don't or a big no-no is ghafla, neglect. Neglect. The longer you spend away from Allah Azza wa Jal, the harder your heart is going to get. And then the harder it will be for you and me to open it again to Allah Azza wa Jal. So ghafla, Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran the example of the people of the book. And whenever you hear the people of the book in the Quran, consider that to be a warning to you and me, because their path could exactly be our path if we follow what they're doing. It's not that if Allah talking about the people of the book, it means that we're immune, we're protected. No. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you're going to follow the path of the people of the book before you. You're going to do what they've done. Including, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلُ فَطَالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدُ فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. He says, do not be like the people of the book before who were given the book. But then what? فَطَالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدُ. They spent a lot of time distant from Allah Azza wa Jal. فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. And so their hearts hardened. So you consider what happened. He says this is their disease. It's not that they do not know. Because Allah Azza wa Jal talks about it in the Quran. ثُمَّ قَسَتْ قُلُوبُكُم مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ فَهِيَ كَالْحِجَارَةِ وَأَشَدُّ قَسْوَةً. Then your hearts hardened after Musa alayhi salam. He says then your hearts hardened afterwards, and it became like stone or even harder. So what they were missing was what? It's not that they did not know, but they knew the book was there, the teachings of Musa alayhi salam were there, they knew. Just like when some of us, when someone comes to you and me and reminds you of halal and haram. Oh, this is wrong, you should be doing this. And you simply do what? Dismiss him. I know, don't tell me. Don't bother me. My personal freedom, this and that. When you dismiss them so casually, and that advice does not affect your heart, does not terrify you, that somebody noticed I'm doing something wrong and Allah actually may punish me for this. If it does not change you, it doesn't terrify you, there's something happening to the heart, that the heart has become so hardened and stiff that nothing affects it. Right? It's just like stone. You hear the Quran, but it doesn't move you. And you're not interested in listening to it. And someone reminds you, read the Quran, and that reading, that advice is very heavy on you. Very heavy. You don't want to invest the time. You don't want to put the effort. Make dhikr of Allah, go to the masjid. You don't want to do this. Okay, you know that you should. You know the benefit of it. But what's happening is that the heart is what? Irresponsive. So the heart can, just like a body, the heart could be dead. The heart could be dead, and that's the heart of the non-believers. Although Allah could revive their hearts. Some of the non-believers, by the way, not everybody. Because they come into Islam, right? So that's not a dead heart. Some of the non-believers, their hearts could be completely dead. And the heart could be alive, and that's the heart of who? Who? The Muslims who are close to Allah Azza wa Jal. And then in the middle you can have a heart that is in between. It has sickness, it has disease. So sometimes it moves closer to Allah and sometimes further away from. So if you want to know the reasons why we sin, it's because there is weakness. Human nature, but also there is weakness. So ghafla, neglect of Allah Azza wa Jal, spending a lot of time away from Him, does this. And that's why you have 5 salahs. Because as soon as the heart is going to accumulate sin, forget about Allah Azza wa Jal, the next salah comes and performed well, removes those sins and reconnects. Just like what? Food. Okay? You eat your breakfast. By the time that you spend this energy comes what? Your lunch. By the time you spend that energy comes what? Your dinner. So spaced out so that it keeps nourishing your body. Salah is spaced out so it keeps nourishing your soul and bringing you back to Allah Azza wa Jal. But of course, it's not just simply enough for you to pray, because there's something in between the salah. So you need dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, you need the reading of the Quran, and that needs to be something that is done daily. So you need to remember Allah every day. But if you spend time away from Him, you'll find that it is harder for you to come back. You need to walk longer. You still can always come back, but you need to walk longer. And you want to tell yourself, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be so distant that I don't even raise my hands in dua. I don't want to be so distant that I spend days and then weeks and then months, and it begins like that. How does it begin? Ghafla, it does not begin big. Your heart does not turn into, or my heart does not turn into stone overnight. It begins small. You skip one salah, you skip one good thing that you're doing that day, and it becomes easier to skip the next day. And then the days turn into what? Weeks. Without you knowing. Weeks. And the weeks become months without you knowing, and the months become year without you knowing it. So, avoiding ghafla. And for you to avoid ghafla, you must consistently be close to Allah. And in fact, you must have a program. Must have a program for yourself. And in addition to this program, in conjunction with it, in fact, you must have a time of inspection. Inspection of the self, inspection of your life. If you plan for material success, have material goals. One of the things that you'll need to do is what? Assess your progress. So, in the coming year, I want to accomplish A to Z. 1 to 10. In the middle, you want to stop and assess your effort. How much were you able to actually accomplish? So that you will find, if I'm unable to accomplish it, then there is a problem, let me fix it so that I can reach my goal, right? Assessment is necessary. So muhasabatun nafs, inspecting what you've done, inspecting your soul, reviewing your deeds is essential in tazkiyah. And that should again happen every day. Every day you would need to have a time with yourself, away from distraction, away from noise, away from your phone. Just you and you. Or you and Allah Azza wa Jalla, nothing else. And then you ask yourself, what is it that I've done today? The good and the bad. Like a list of the good and the bad. And some of the early Muslims, the scholars, the pious Muslims, he says, لا تزال تجد المسلم أو المؤمن معاتبا لنفسه لما قلت كذا لما فعلت كذا. He says you're going to continue to find the believer questioning him and herself. Why did I say this and why did I do that? After the fact. So in that meeting, you say, but why did I say this? Why did I make fun of so and so? Why did not I stand up and defend them when others were making fun of them? Why did I not say this right thing? Why did I say that bad thing? Or why did I do this bad thing and not this good thing? Why did I look at that haram? Why did I listen to that haram? So you inspect, you review. And the benefit of this review, of this muhasabah is what? There are two things that come out of it. One, asking Allah for forgiveness for the past sins, and then finding ways to avoid them in the future. Without that, you're going aimlessly. You're going to continue to do the same mistake over and over and over because you've done something wrong and you did not learn from it. So if you find that you're talking ill of someone in the company of others, then you inspect and say, why is it that I've done this? Is it the company? Is it the people that are pushing me to say these bad things? And if it is that bad company, what do you do? What do you do? You're still with me, right? Okay. So, If you avoid that bad company, alright, you'd stop saying these bad things. But how do you know that you should avoid them? When you notice that there's something wrong. Otherwise, isn't it actually, and be honest, isn't it nice to backbite people? What do you think? It's nice, right? Because you feel better, right? You know about his mistake and about her mistake, you put them down, da 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 da. It's just, and especially when it's juicy. Oh, you know what happened? They fought, this happened, they lost money, da 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 da. It's nice. But then you end up loaded with what? Sin. Owing everybody else your good deeds. And if you think to yourself, subhanAllah, I pushed myself to wake up for Fajr today. Pushed. And subhanAllah, I'm pushing myself to pray, and I'm trying to do things right. And then you come in one meeting, and you waste it all. So, وَيَأْتِي بِحَسَنَاتٍ كَأَمْثَالِ الْجِبَالِ He comes with, Prophet ﷺ says, he comes on the Day of Judgment with good deeds that are like mountains. A lot. But وَيَأْتِي وَقَدْ شَتَمَ هَذَا وَضَرَبَ هَذَا وَأَكَلَ مَاذَا He comes on the Day of Judgment and he insulted so-and-so, he hit so-and-so, he had, unlawfully took somebody's money, and he gives them from his hasanat and her hasanat, so you lose all of it. So it's just in one setting, in one meeting, you could be losing a lot of hasanat. How are you going to stop? Not until you go back and say, well, why did I even go there? What was the benefit of it? Astaghfirullah for that. Now you know. Now your muhasabah is bringing fruit. You're asking Allah for forgiveness. Ya Allah, forgive me. You're feeling regret. And also part of tawbah, when you study what tawbah is, part of the foundations of tawbah, وَالْعَزْمُ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا يَعُودْ The intention never to go back to this. That's what tawbah is. So you say, I'm never going to go back to this. But then how? How are you not going to go back to this? Then you consider, it's this person who always has such a bad influence. Okay, I'm going to limit my time. Or at least I'm going to be upfront and say, we're going to sit, we can talk, but not about this thing and not about haram. I'm not going to do this. If you're going to do it, I'm either going to object or I will leave. Right? And it will be difficult to do this, to confront others like that. Okay? Or you find a more tactful way. That's up to you, right? You decide. But at least you realize that there's something wrong. So you're trying to move away from it. I looked at something haram. Why did I look at that haram here? Because if you, and the benefit, inshallah, of this muhasabah is that you will notice how your heart has changed. Any type of sin, like if you're walking on a path to bring you to Allah Azza wa Jal, any type of sin takes you off the road. Takes you off a bit, just a bit. And if there's more of it, off more. And so on, and so on, and so on. Until you're going in a very different direction. And you can feel it in your heart. When you commit something wrong, if you don't ask Allah for forgiveness, after that wrong thing you've done that day, if somebody tells you, go read the Quran, you'll find what? Right? There's resistance. No. Come to the masjid? No. Make dhikr? No. Give sadaqah? No. There's resistance. Why is there resistance? Because Allah says, استحوذ عليهم الشيطان فأنساهم ذكر الله. He says the shaitan took hold of them, controlled them, he made them forget Allah. So he says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ Do not be like those who forgot about Allah. He made them forget about what? About their own selves. This is, so what's amazing about it, you should sometimes let the Quran shock you a little bit. Now, how could you ever forget about your own self? Think about it. Could you ever forget about your own self? So you always know that when you're hungry, and if everything that you're doing is in the service of your own self, how could you forget about your own self? What do you think? Because when you forget about what benefits you, you don't know it anymore. You're going after things and you think, well, this is good. I just bought something new. I just visited someplace new. Halal is halal. I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy with halal blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal. Be happy with them. But I'm saying that if this is the only focus, this material, and you think I'm good because of it, I'm happy because of it, your heart has missed the point. These things will all leave. Will all leave you. So if I'm only happy because my car is new, my house is big, I have children, they're successful, all of these are blessings, but if this is the only source of happiness, then your heart is living in a state where it is dependent on the dunya. So if I were to take all of that from you, what happens to you? You'll be what? Very sad. Not only sad, devastated, because this is your life, this is your investment, this is everything for you and me. Take it away and I am nothing. But when your heart is connected to Allah Azza wa Jal, can I take Allah away from you? Can I? I can take all your worldly possessions. And some people, they put them in jail, and they put them in jail for years, decades. And they come out and they're still strong and sane. How could this be possible? How could this be possible? When I'm trying to break you and you could not be broken. Meaning you won. If I put you, I'm not me, somebody. If I put you, they put you in jail, right? And then, may Allah save you all. I'm just saying hypothetical, right? Like that, and you're depossessed of everything, and you're still strong, and you come out and you're willing to continue. What is this fuel that is giving you the power? It's Allah Azza wa Jal. Whereas you find on the other part, what? A person could have all the good things in this life, but still they are weak here and unhappy. Right? So, leaving ghafla, because ghafla means that you forget about Allah, and if you forget about Allah, you forget about your own self. And if you forget about Allah Azza wa Jal, now the arena, the heart is empty. And it's not going to be empty, by the way, because there's always competition in your heart. So either Allah is there, or who's there? Shaitan is there. That's why when Allah is not there, the shaitan comes and controls the heart. That's it. And then the shaitan will be able to direct you. Wherever he wants you to take you, he'll take you. Now, also the benefit of tazkiyah, or one of the do's in tazkiyah, and also included in that is the don'ts, is that the akhirah should be the goal of tazkiyah, and not anything else. If something else comes, it is secondary, or is not going to be noticed. We're not going to pay attention to it. So the role or the purpose of tazkiyah, as we said, is to earn Allah's pleasure. And for you to earn Allah's pleasure in the hereafter, to enter Jannah. In addition to the serenity and peace He will give you right here. But the primary one is the one that is over there. So, along the way to Allah Azza wa Jal, just like if you are traveling alone and you have money, and the way and the path is not dangerous, it's dangerous and it's unsafe, what's going to happen to you? Someone is going to try to do what? Rob you. So along the path to Allah Azza wa Jal, the shaitan is going to try to rob you, meaning stop you. They call them qutta'u tariq, highway robbers. He's going to come and stop you, and they're going to try to put obstacles in your way to distract you. And that's what you have to watch out for. One of the things, for instance, some people could do tazkiyah, and the purpose of tazkiyah is, I want to see good dreams. Or when you start seeing good dreams, what do you start believing about yourself? That I'm what? I'm what? I'm there. I start seeing good dreams. I've reached. Or I've become a wali of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? And I've become better than the people around me. Because Allah knows how pure my heart is. When you are victim of that belief, then the shaitan has taken control. Because good dreams are not a condition. If Allah gives them to you, good. If Allah doesn't give them to you, it doesn't say anywhere that you have to see them in order to be close to Allah Azza wa Jal. Good to have, but not necessary. And if you have them, you have to pay attention to what? To the fact that dreams in general, their source is what? The source could be the self. And the source could be Allah Azza wa Jal, which they call it a ru'ya. And the source could be what? The shaitan. So it's possible that the shaitan could try to disguise a dream so that he'll be able to assassinate your effort and take you away from Allah Azza wa Jal by convincing you that you have become a wali of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's not our purpose. I'm not doing tazkiyah in order to see dreams. Okay? I'm not gonna care about it. If they come, they come. If they don't come, I'm not even gonna. I don't care. Or I'm not gonna do tazkiyah in order to perform. It's not miracles. In order to have a karama, right? That's when I'm very close to Allah Azza wa Jal, and I can make dua, and my dua will be accepted like this. Or people will start recognizing how good I am, and then come and ask me for dua. You're such a good person, make dua for us. Such a good person, make dua for us. Or start praising you. And that again is another attempt from this. If you allow it, because people are innocently can come and ask for these things, but if you allow it, it can change your heart. So now you start praying because of what? They call it jah. Because of the belief that people have about me. How could I ever disappoint their belief and my status? It's status. Jah is status. How could I lose that status? What do they name me as? They know me as a pious person. So as a pious person, I act like a pious person. Because I want that status. I want that respect from people. Because if I don't do it, I'll lose it. So you start praying, going to Hajj, giving this, speaking in ways because you want that status. So that's a way where the shaitan has ruined your intention. So our tazkiyah is not intended to receive people's praise. Don't care about that. And that's why, again, that muhasabah, review, introspection is needed. Why did I pray today? Why did I make that dua? Why did I give that sadaqah? Then the next time you watch out for it. And you inspect your intention before you start. I'm going to start my salah. Why is this? Why am I doing this? Why am I standing here? Why am I performing this wudu? I'm going to give money. Why is this money for? For what purpose? So that others can see and praise, or for Allah Azza wa Jal? If it's for Allah, you pause. Make it for Allah, and then you proceed. And again, that takes some time. Because we're all often on autopilot. Pray, wudu, fast. But not until you pause a bit and you ask yourself, but what is this for? What is this for? And as is reported about Al-Bukhari rahimahullah, he says, for so many years, I would not take a step until I know why I've taken it. Why would I take it? And some of them, and I don't recall if it's Al-Bukhari or not, when he was invited, he says, let's go for a janazah. He paused. He didn't go. And then he says, now let's go. He says, what was this pause for? He said, I had no intention. Why am I moving? Not just come, let's go. Right? It takes time for you to be able to have that pause and for you to say, okay, what is this for? For Allah Azza wa Jal. I'm going to make dua for this dead person. Allah Azza wa Jal also reward me for it. Will grant me the same. Allah will save him. I'm interceding. You have all of these, and then you pray. That prayer is different. Your dua will be different. The effect it will leave will be different. But if you do things without thinking about it, what happens is that they're not going to leave an impact. So that's introspection is needed there. To rededicate your ibadah and also see what was missing about it. Oh, I liked it when other people were praising me and asking me, to make dua for them. I liked it. But then you go back and you treat yourself. And one of the ways that you do this, because that's a disease if it keeps growing, you treat yourself by saying, but you know yourself better, don't you? You're not that person that they think you are. You have these things, you have these flaws. Allah was so generous that He had covered and concealed. But if they were to see who you are, think about it. If everybody were able to actually get a scan of all your thoughts, what will they say about you? I don't want to be next to that person, right? And she's a horrible person. All the thoughts that come into your head, and sometimes even the things that you're thinking inside, not just a passing thought, but sometimes some of the things that you think in your heart. Oh, this person is worse, this person is bad, these things, but alhamdulillah, you don't express that. But if a person were to know what is inside, they'll think differently. So I think it was probably maybe Abu Darda. A person was praising, and he said, stop praising. If you were to know who I am on the inside, you would throw animal dung at me. Says, I know myself better than you. So what allows you to do this? Of course, knowledge, which we'll be talking about, but also the fact that you sat down and you inspected your heart and you noticed that, well, something is going wrong. And the problem with it is that if you don't detect it when it's small, what happens to it? It becomes so big and big and big until it overtakes your and my heart, and then it's harder to remove, harder to dislodge from there. So you need to take the time, we need to take the time to consider, just like, I'm going to school, these are my grades, so I'm doing well, I'm not doing well, I need tutors, I need more review, I need to study more, or I've taken this job, my plan is in 3-5 years, I've gotten this raise, I'm going to move here. Just as you plan for your dunya, and when you review your steps, you need to plan for the akhirah. And review your steps. So where am I going? Am I taking steps forward or backward? Is this for good or is it bad? Do I need to change directions, change friends, learn more? You need to invest, and we need to invest in our akhirah. We need also to have constant learning of Islam, constant reminders, which will combat, on the one hand, ghafla, neglect or distance from Allah Azza wa Jal, and we'll talk about good company inshallah, but it also will combat the fact that when you are, and I am ignorant, I don't know that this is wrong, I don't know that this is a disease, I don't know that this needs to be fixed. If I don't know about arrogance, right, and that is an ounce weight of it, will make me subject to punishment in hellfire. If I don't know that arrogance, kibr, is a major sin, I'm not going to fix it. If I don't know the definition of arrogance, meaning that when I walk into this room or out of this room into the street, everybody I see I think are beneath me. If I don't know that this is wrong, and that the right belief is at least I think that we're equal, or even better, I think that they're better than me. If I don't have that as a map that will guide my practice and will guide my thinking, if I don't know this, how will I actually fix myself? So I need to know that arrogance is wrong. I need to know what it is. I need to know how to fix it. I need to know the example of the scholars, beginning with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then the Sahaba and those who followed. How did they look at it? How did they behave? How did they treat themselves when it came to arrogance? If I don't know about the other diseases of the heart, if I don't know about envy, if I don't know about jealousy, if I don't know about ghafla that we talked about, if I don't know about the effect of sin on the heart, if I don't know how to fix sin, if I don't know how to overcome my weakness and my addiction, if I don't know about these things, then how can I even be aware that it needs to be fixing? Or even if I've noticed something wrong, how can I even fix it if I don't know how to fix it? So we need to keep learning Islam. And through the Quran, reciting the Quran, knowing its tafsir, studying the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or joining classes, regular classes. And the benefit of regular classes is what? Is that, as we said, it combats neglect or unawareness or hardness of the heart. And also it brings you in the company of who? Other righteous, bi'idhnillah, believers. And what's the benefit of that? But the benefit of that is that on your own, you're weak. No matter how strong you want to be. No matter how strong you want to be. On your own, if there is no one to support you, no one to remind you, you're weak. But if there is somebody beside you who believes the same thing, who wants the same thing out of life, just, in fact, sometimes just the mere presence of that individual around you is itself strengthening. Just their presence. The fact that they are practicing the sunnah and you can see it alive and it's visible. The fact that they remember Allah Azza wa Jal, that in itself bolsters your iman, bolsters your faith. And that's why, what is Allah Azza wa Jal call the believers to come to salah? Although you could perform it on your own, right? So you think about it, look, there's such wisdom in the ibadat. Talking about salah, fasting. Why do we all do it together? And is fasting easier in Ramadan or outside Ramadan? Inside Ramadan. Why is it? What happened? What is magical about these days? There is tawfiq from Allah Azza wa Jal. There is ease that Allah Azza wa Jal gives. But what is different about those days? He says everybody's doing it. And when everybody does something, it's easy. So and so is fasting, so and so is fasting. Even when your iman sometimes is weak, and on your own you won't be able to fast. When everybody's fasting, you're going to be fasting. So it's easier to pray when others are praying. Easier to fast when others are fasting. Zakah also brings you in contact with other Muslims. Hajj brings you in contact with other Muslims. You look at the ibadat, they bring you in contact with other Muslims constantly. So when you are learning together, when you are around other pious Muslims, you are stronger. And so your tazkiyah requires that. On your own, you're weak. You're very vulnerable. You need others. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said it, فَإِنَّ الذِّئْبَ إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُ مِنَ الدَّغَنَمِ الْقَاسِيَةِ. The wolf will only eat the lonely sheep. So to be alone, to be alienated, separated, is a problem. So tazkiyah, right? Tazkiyah, it doesn't mean all the time to sit alone with dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Dhikr is important. I'm going to talk about it, inshallah. That'll be the last thing we talk about. Dhikr is important, but that's simply not tazkiyah. Some people have that image of tazkiyah, which is I'm just sitting alone by myself, repeating Allah's name, or doing dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's not just simply tazkiyah. That's one part of it. But the other tazkiyah is also for you to be learning Islam. That's tazkiyah. For you to support other Muslims, that's tazkiyah. You'll be stronger when you do this. When you see a sister wearing hijab and you are wearing hijab, you're more likely to continue wearing hijab because you saw somebody else doing the same thing. So it gives you strength. When you see somebody coming and they are mentioning Allah's name as they come in, as they leave, you'll remember that you should do the same thing, so you'll do it. You're next to somebody else and during their free time they open the Quran and read it. What do you feel? Guilty a little bit that I'm supposed to do something like that too. So more likely that when you go home to do the same thing. So being in the company of other Muslims, righteous Muslims, will help you be closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. So your company matters in tazkiyah, right? And that's why you want to see if a person started being close to Allah and they lost it, consider their company. Consider where they spend their time. So you need to give yourself that energy. And the last thing, inshallah, that we'll talk about, and then we'll take, inshallah, questions and answers. Last thing that we talk about is the importance of dua, Quran, and dhikr. So we talked about here things that you should do. Plan for this, don't plan for that. Avoid this, do that. Be constant in your ibadah. Don't skip, don't neglect it. We talked about all of this. Have a plan, inspect your heart, learn more about your heart and about diseases, how to fix them. But ultimately, we should also and always remember, who is the one who grants that tazkiyah? It's Allah Azza wa Jal. Who's the one who's going to accept our deeds? Allah. Who's the one who's going to protect you from fitna? Allah Azza wa Jal. From sin? Allah Azza wa Jal. So as you inspect your deeds, as you inspect your life, as you're trying to plan for something, never forget to ask Allah for support and help. Ya Allah, I seek your protection from all fitan, what I know about, what I do not know about. Ya Allah, forgive me all sins, that which I remember and that which I do not remember. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, forgive me or protect me from all shirk, that which I know about and the one that I don't know about, forgive it, Ya Allah. If you are weak in front of a particular sin, say, Ya Allah, help me overcome that. Safeguard and protect my eyes, my ears, my tongue. You don't have that good company and you're looking for them. You don't have to agonize alone. I know that for some people, I says, I don't have a brother, I don't have a sister, yani fillah. I don't have someone who's like that. You don't have to agonize alone. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal. When Musa alayhi salam found himself to be alone, what did he say? وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِ هَارُونَ أَخِي أُشْدُدْ بِهِ أَزْرِي. He says, give me a helper from my family, Harun, my brother. Support me with him. He was alone, right? And Allah gave him that task of going to Pharaoh. Musa thought, what is that? Right? Just think about it. He says, going to Pharaoh? Someone who has absolute power. What do I have with me? Can you imagine? That's why it's beautiful sometimes to ask yourself these questions. They say, okay, alone, I'm going to go to Pharaoh. What are you going to do to me? قال ربنا إننا نخاف أن يفرط علينا أو أن يطغى. Ya Allah, I'm paraphrasing. Allah is going to kill us. I'm going to go there in his court and I'm going to tell him, believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, send Banu Israel with me. What is he going to do to me? For something less, he is executing people. And I'm going to go and challenge him like that. So sometimes you're alone, you're weak, you don't have people around. Did Allah say, just suffer in silence? Just keep suffering. He doesn't want you to suffer. Raise your hands and say, send someone, give me this brother, give me this sister, give me that support. By the way, how long should you make dua? One time, right? And if it doesn't happen, just quit. Right? No. And I know it's difficult, right? But if you're asking for something big, because there are a lot of factors. When you make this dua, how you make this dua, how close to Allah Azza wa Jal, is this good thing for you, is it not good for you, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala testing you to increase your iman and proximity to Him? There are a lot of things in it, right? But also an element in it is, if you're asking for something big, you gotta go big. So if you're asking for Jannah, what does the Prophet ﷺ say about Jannah? He says, أَلَا إِنَّ سِلْعَةَ اللَّهِ غَالِيَةٌ. What Allah is selling is what? Cheap? غالية, he said. What Allah is selling, the merchandise of Allah, he called it sil'a. The merchandise of Allah is expensive. Right? So if you're asking for something big, you go big too. Meaning you keep asking Allah Azza wa Jal day and night. And asking, when does Allah accept dua? What are the good times? Okay, I'm going to look for those times. What are the good positions or postures or places where Allah accepts dua? I'm doing that as well. How can I enhance the possibility of my dua being accepted? That as well. And you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. And maybe something interesting will happen. SubhanAllah, for some it happens, is that the thing that you're asking for decreases as importance, and then your time that you're spending with Allah Azza wa Jal becomes better and dearer in your heart at that time. Now, how many times you could read, and I've read and I've heard people have said, I went through some terrible times, and at that time I was so close to Allah Azza wa Jal, and in fact I missed that time. Yeah? You may have gone through something like that, but at least I've experienced people telling me this and reading that as well. I've been through some terrible times, but they pushed me to be so close to Allah that now that they've gone, I'm just really missing that feeling that I had when you just complete dependence and surrender, where I've given it up to Allah Azza wa Jalla. And when you give something up to Allah or Him, you don't worry anymore, because it's just His, right? So make dua that Allah Azza wa Jalla purifies your heart. If there's an illness, a disease, a hatred, anxiety, ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to remove it, and try inshallah to be close to reading the Quran and to the dhikr of Allah, because that's going to be your fuel. In addition to the dua, your fuel in order for you to be able to continue is both of these things. Reading the Quran every day, and reading it with an intention, reading it wanting something out of it, not simply barakah, where I read and I don't get what I'm reading. La. You must have a translation at least, or a commentary. So I'm reading these portions of my ayat today, and I want to know what Allah is saying. And then take that for that day, think about it. One of those days you're going to read an ayah that will affect you. It will start changing you. This is because you are constantly, as they say metaphorically, knocking on Allah's door every day, with dua and with Quran. And then you have the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, astaghfirullah. Whatever at that moment, you say, which one of them? Whatever at that moment has reached your heart or is reaching your heart, that's what you do. So sometimes it's astaghfirullah. Do that. And sometimes you want to glorify Allah. Sometimes you want to thank Allah. Whatever at that moment is working for you. I'm talking about general dhikr. There's dhikr after salah. There is dhikr before you go. Between Asr and Maghrib, fixed. There is dhikr between Fajr and sunrise, fixed. So those are fixed ones. So in addition to the fixed ones, talking about the general dua. So the more that you're connected to Allah Azza wa Jalla, you feel that your heart is soft. Heart is soft. So when you hear the Quran, it moves you. When you hear an advice, it moves you. When somebody calls you to do something good, it's easy for you to do it because your heart is very soft. Right? So inshallah, I think we'll stop here. Bi-idhnillah Azza wa Jalla, take questions if you have any questions, inshallah, because I think we'll be going on for about an hour, so that's plenty, inshallah, for a lecture.
Arif, for you.
Inshallah.
There is only one at the moment. Try to get another two. Can we, sisters? Well, the first question is, what is the most effective way or ways for tazkiyah for a person who has a huge ego?
Okay.
E-G-O.
Okay. Now. So a person who has a huge ego, and that's connected to sort of arrogance or ujb, admiring yourself and thinking that you're better than other people. Others should serve you, others should recognize, how great you are, and all of that. It's both, it's internal and external. The things that you do on the inside, which is you review your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about other people, something that you do internally, but also something that you do externally to bring your ego down. So things that you do, let's say internally, it's a conversation that you have with yourself, but the fact that, first of all, we talked about it briefly, we said reminding yourself of your own flaws and mistakes, because someone who is arrogant does not see their mistakes. They're all hidden and buried. But you discuss or you actually bring them up and say, no, I do have flaws. Everybody, you can see that other people have flaws, right? Why are you the exception? It can't be. So I have mistakes, I have flaws. So I'm not as great as I think I am. This, by the way, this is a medicine for those who have big egos, who are arrogant. Not this, in totality, may not work for everybody else. If you're suffering from low self-esteem, you wouldn't be doing this, right? Be doing something different. So, noticing your own flaws, noticing your own mistakes, and that a person who does not see their own mistake is actually deficient in their intelligence and wisdom. The fact that you cannot see your own mistakes means that what? You're a bit stupid, right? Right? So if you cannot see your own mistakes, you're a little stupid. And if you're a little bit stupid, you shouldn't be admiring yourself so much, right? So it means, okay, there is something wrong with me, it's just that I cannot see it. There is something wrong with me then. So that brings it a few notches down, right? So that's one. Seeking Allah's protection from it. Third, noticing genuinely that other people have good things that you do not have. Talents, skills that you do not have. Abilities that you don't, like that they do. And the fact that, what testifies to this is that you can't do everything. And you're not good at everything, right? So how could you be better than everybody else? No, you're not. There are other people who could do what you do, or do things that you cannot do, or sometimes do some of the things that you do even better. So you must tell yourself that is true. Sometimes you're just lucky and you're recognized, but there are other people who actually can do some of the things that give you pride better. So tell yourself that and convince yourself of it. Now, how do you do this sometimes? You need to venture outside yourself. Okay? You do that in history and you do that in the present. Venture outside yourself and find out those people who actually can do things better. I always hate the fact of those, although that's not a criterion for success, for true Islamic success, but always hate the fact of those who tell us, okay, so-and-so became a millionaire in their 20s. That makes me feel bad, right? That I had wasted my life, right? But what does it tell you? It does tell you, okay, somebody were able to do something that you couldn't. Okay? Or so-and-so discovered something and they're still, I don't know what, in their teens. It tells you, okay, fine. Okay, I'm not as smart as you. Okay, fine. Okay, so now I know I'm not the smartest person. I'm not, the most creative person. I have good things, alhamdulillah, that Allah given me. Let me thank Allah for them, but that does not make me better than everybody else. So venture outside yourself, see what others have, and also go back in history. Go back in history, especially, right, Muslims. So if you're admiring yourself Islamically for whatever you've done, compare yourself to the Sahaba and to their iman and to their taqwa. You say, okay, but they were next to the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, that's not convincing. Find the tabi'een. Oh, the tabi'een were not just students of the Sahaba. Okay, no, that does not matter. Okay, they're followers. You're going to find someone, Bukhari, Ahmad ibn Hanbal. You can find someone in the last century even, right? Or some people who are living today. So-and-so memorized the Quran when they are 9 and 10. Okay, that's better. I don't have that. So-and-so memorized Quran, Bukhari and Muslim, da-da-da-da-da. The books of Hadith, they're about 15 and 16. Okay, that made me even feel worse than I was feeling before. So-and-so, mashallah, do. And you can notice that, okay, so-and-so reads the Quran every 3 days, finishes the Quran. Okay, I don't think I can do this. Okay, with every ayah, they earn a hasana. Okay, I can't compete. So you notice, right? You notice that, I mean, there are people who have a lot of good things. So I'm not the only or the best person. I have good things, but other people who are as good or even better than I am. And then you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to just treat that. Oh yeah, and externally also, something that I forgot to mention, do things that would sort of break that ego. So, I mean, don't buy the most expensive car, or the most expensive dress, or the most expensive bag, because you know that you have this problem, so you have to treat it. So I'm not saying this as, oh, it's up to you, it's optional. No, you have to do this, right? And then find ways where you're able to help others, especially in ways that break the ego. Let me carry your groceries for you. Let me help you fix your car. Let me do this for you. So these things break the ego. So these external things, in addition to the internal ones, will help, inshallah.
Next question is, how to resolve a denial syndrome? Deny.
Denying you have a problem? Like in yourself? How do you resolve that in yourself or resolve it in others? Both. Both? Okay. I was hoping you'd only choose one, so I don't have to do both of them at the same time.
Actually, just to add the ego, what I found, people with big ego normally is blind.
Yes.
So when the person is blind, I mean, you can't talk to that.
You cannot talk to a person who doesn't see their mistakes.
Yes, I mean, the pride is so huge.
Yes.
The ego is so huge.
Yes.
And everything what the person is always right.
Right.
The ego really blind the person.
Of course. I mean, when you admire yourself to such an extent, you don't see your own mistakes or that you need to be fixed because you're perfect. And that's a disease. That's a disease. Now, how you talk to this person, I'm not going to say that I have an answer because other than dua, how could you reach them? The only thing I can say, you make dua, constant dua for them, and never give up on them. Keep giving reminders, selective, wisely, but keep giving reminders. And if Allah Azza wa Jal wants the best for them, maybe one of those days when you're giving this reminder, something will sneak inside the heart. Maybe. Or something will happen that will break that ego, break their success. And they'll be just completely distraught and devastated at that moment. And then something that you either said or you will say to them at that moment will help. Because now they have nothing. So you have big ego as long as you're successful, nobody can talk to you. But if you lose something, then that's the opportunity that Allah is giving that person to be corrected. So keep making dua and keep giving advice. Be selective, not constant advice, because they'll rebel, right? They'll reject it. They don't want to listen to it. But from time to time, be wise about it. Ask Allah to give you that wisdom, because I admit it's not easy. It's not easy to talk to them. It's not easy even to want to continue to give them advice, because you feel that it's just hopeless. But inshallah, it's not hopeless. As long as a person is alive, inshallah, there is hope. Inshallah. Yeah.
Denial syndrome.
That's what we talked about. That's the denial syndrome. Yeah.
Which is related to the ego. How do we control the word out of anger?
How do we control the what? I'm sorry?
How we control our words when we're angry?
How do you control words when you're angry? Okay. Right. So how do you control your words when you're angry? So, when someone, you know this hadith very well, when someone came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, "Awsini, give me an advice." He says, "La taghdab, do not be angry. Do not be angry." So do not be angry here could mean both, two things. Do not become angry. Or don't be angry, meaning when you actually are angry, don't act on that anger. It could be both. And actually both work very well. So let's say, for instance, the most comprehensive advice. One, try not to become angry. So try to take steps so that you do not become angry. So what triggers your anger? Why have you become angry? You notice the triggers. And sometimes it's about that person, and sometimes it's about you. You have something inside, a vulnerability, a problem, right? When somebody says something about it, you become angry. Like if I think that I'm a failure, even though I am not, but if I think I'm a failure, or if I think I'm ugly, and somebody makes a remark just borders on suggesting something close to that, I become angry. Because it's because of me. Even though they may not even have that thought, but it's because of me. So consider, first of all, the anger triggers inside of you, and try to treat those. And then the triggers with people. So try to distance yourself from things and situations that make you angry. It's easier actually to control it that way rather than to control it when you're actually angry. So don't become angry. Now, when you have actually become angry, now that's it, right? And some people will be. So you got angry. How do you control it? How do you control it? Knowledge and practice. So ilm and amal. You need knowledge. Knowledge of the fact that, what you say when you're angry counts. And what you say when you're angry is a way by which the shaitan traps you. People get divorced when they are angry. You take reckless decisions when you're angry. And you spout out reckless words when you're angry. You can hurt someone really severely when you're angry. Even though in normal cases you wouldn't say these things, but all the bad things that you had, right? All the bad things that you were storing inside, or bad things that are not of you, but you've heard for somebody else. Ways of expressions, ways of blaming other people. They just come out and you just can hurt someone severely, and that wound may never heal. They'll always remember what you've said. How do you control it? First of all, recognizing that anger is a trap from the shaitan. So when you become angry, if you're aware that that's the case, that okay, I need to maintain my composure. I need to be strong. So some of the things that you do is, if something makes you angry and you don't want to react, remove yourself. Remove yourself from that, from the company, from that place. Just say, I'm angry. I don't want to deal with this right now. Give me some time, and just remove yourself whenever that is possible. Saying what? There's something that you can say. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. And not everyone, by the way, who says أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم will be protected from the shaitan al-rajim unless they actually are invested in what they say. You need to say, Ya Allah, protect me from the shaitan. Ya Allah, protect me. It means you have to feel this. If the only way that you're going to feel it is say it in your own language, say it. Say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم and then say it again in your own language, if you're going to only feel it that way. But feel it. Ya Allah, protect me from the shaitan. So saying أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, removing yourself from that place. Others, also Rasulullah ﷺ says that if you are standing, what do? Sit down. And if you're sitting down and still angry, what do? Lie down. Lie down, right? So that's also a possibility, right? You can't just lie down anywhere, right? So sometimes you say standing, you can just at least sit down. Sit down. You're less likely to engage or be aggressive when you're sitting down, right? And as some scholars have said, it's not in a hadith, but some scholars have suggested wudu. You go make wudu, okay? And then pray 2 rak'ahs. So again, it's removing yourself from that scene. And allow yourself with time, because it takes practice. Allow yourself, or make a commitment to yourself. If I'm angry, I'm not going to say anything about this to that person unless after 15 minutes. Unless after 20 minutes. Unless after an hour had passed. You give yourself time to think, for anger to subside. Think about what you want to say, and then say it. And that's the beauty of learning what early Muslims used to do. They used to say, know that as long as you have not spoken, you own the word. That word that you want to say, as long as you have not said anything, you own it. You can do whatever you want. Say it, not say it, change it. But once you say it, it owns you. Right? That's it. You said this. You're this. You insulted. You attacked. Now it owns you. Now you have to defend yourself. But before that, you're king. Or you're king. You have control. But once you say it, you're a slave to it. So a bit of wisdom, a bit of learning, and a bit of practice, inshallah, especially those tips that the Prophet ﷺ had recommended. With time, inshallah, you'll be able to control that anger, inshallah.
Yep. Two questions here. How can one overcome negative thoughts of I want to die because of severe depression?
Okay.
Number two, how do we deal with such individuals who find it very hard to make dua or read the Quran to alleviate his or her depression? Interrelated questions.
Okay. So let me answer the second one first. How do you deal with a person who finds it very hard for them to read the Quran and make dua when they're suffering from severe depression? It'd be hard for you to come and tell a person who's really depressed, really, really depressed, go read the Quran. Because the fact is that if they're not guided, if they're in a state, like in a compromised state, they can comprehend, but it's just emotionally, if they are in such a state, some ayahs, if they do not process it right, if they don't understand right, could actually enhance their depression. So if a person is really depressed because of failures or this or that, and they're reading ayahs about hellfire, that's not gonna probably help, right? You're gonna be punished, you're gonna be tormented, you're gonna say, okay, that's me, right? So they're gonna think it, they're gonna take it that way. So does not other ayahs. So I don't recommend, if a person is in that state, for depression in general, yes, I recommend read the Quran with understanding. It will help. But if he or she are in such a state, tell them just make dua. They need to be guided out of that depression. So how do I make dua? What do I say? How long do I wait? What do I ask Allah for? All these things are questions that they're going to have, and they're not going to be able to answer it. So in that state, they need that physical support. You need to read the Quran with them. To be a selected, guided reading of some ayat in the Quran that have lessons to help them. So if you understand them, what's the cause of your depression? It's this. There are some selected ayahs from the Quran, some selected hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that need to be compiled. You seek somebody else's help if you cannot do it. Collect it with the wisdom in them, with the lessons, and you share that with them. No, Allah doesn't hate you. No, you're not worthless. No, past failure does not mean future failures as well. And you select these ayat. That is a remedy or a way to remedy the things that they have. But on their own, just read Quran, just make dua, just pray, they're not going to do any of that. So you need somebody to walk them through all of that and counter these negative thoughts. Because why are you depressed? It's a negative thought or a bad thought that you was allowed to inhabit the mind and the heart, and it just flourished, and now it's dominant. Okay? All of us have that thought that says, I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. Anybody here did not have that thought? Raise your hand. I'm not raising my hand, I'm just telling you what to do. So all of you had it, right? Everybody's going to have it. But when you accept it and it starts spreading, then you have a depression, episode of depression. So you want to be able to combat that, and be able to combat, you need to walk this person out of their depression. The first one is how do you, and by the way, if you can't do it on your own, ask others to help you, because on your own, most of the time it's difficult. You can't take all that burden on your own, right? The first one was about how you combat those negative thoughts, right? How do you fight them? And like any battle in life, you don't stand alone. So when you have a negative thought, let's just like when we said with anger. When you're angry, what do you say? A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim. Because you realize that's what's happening at this time. Your anger is either triggered by the shaitan or is being fueled by the shaitan. Right? Either the cause or the fuel. So these negative thoughts, the shaitan is either the cause or going to be the fuel. Right? Because he would like to see you depressed, right? So when you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, once you notice these negative thoughts, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Ya Allah, protect me from the shaitan. Insha'Allah, we hope when these thoughts are small and tiny, they'll just go away. Sometimes they persist. But for some people, when these thoughts are small, they'll start going away. Okay? Now, the second step that you can do, if you can't push it away simply by saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, is this thought is sort of information that's coming into your brain. You need to counter it with other information, counter information, or have a counter conversation, counter narrative that goes into your head to push away these thoughts. So, you're worthless. You say, but no, I'm not. Didn't Allah Azza wa Jal give me this, and this, and this? Am I not a Muslim? Don't I believe in Allah Azza wa Jal? Don't I also believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If I pray 2 rak'ahs right now, really close to Allah Azza wa Jal, wouldn't Allah forgive my sins? Would Allah do this to a worthless person? Would? No. So to have this conversation with yourself that though this is not real, this is coming from the shaitan, and recognizing that it's coming from there, and countering it with the proper understanding of who you are, who Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah will never forgive you for this. Why? And Allah is wasi'ul maghfirah. He forgives all sins. Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'a. There is no exception to it. Even the sin of shirk, if you're alive, Allah will forgive it. Why would that be an obstacle? Oh, I'm a failure. You're a failure. But if you ask Allah, does failure in the dunya means failure in the akhirah? Huh? Did the prophets of Allah alayhimu salatu wasalam ajma'een, when they failed, did they stop? They never stopped. Does failure mean that Allah hates you? No. Even for those who are successful in this life today, even when they first failed, did they stop? All of them will tell you, as far as I know, the ones I know about, that in the beginning we failed, and then failed, and then that led to success. And that we've learned from that was failure how to succeed. So maybe this is what Allah is teaching you. Or maybe those things that you're trying to do and you failed at were not good for you. And Allah is steering you in the right direction. So all of these things will give you hope. So if you can have this conversation with yourself, you can stop these negative thoughts. Ultimately, if you find that you can't do it on your own, what should you do? Talk to someone. Talk to someone. I don't mean necessarily a therapist or a psychologist or whatever. It could be just be your dear friend, your imam, the sheikh, whatever. If those people can't help, then a professional. But it's important to talk to someone. You don't want to live with these thoughts, okay, and have them just, fester. You want to be able to combat them, inshallah. And there are ways to combat them. So are levels, huh? Just by verbally saying and with your heart, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, doesn't work. Move on to talk to yourself about the fact that they are incorrect. You can't help but continue to think about them and believe them. Talk to somebody else, either a friend, close by, or a professional. Inshallah.
Second last question. We have to finish by 1. You want the share to be a little bit brief.
Yeah, inshallah.
Is the question. Is it alright to talk about other people's bad manners so that others are more worried of him? Example. Very good. Huh? Oh. This person, I have to read what he okay?
Yeah.
Be fair.
Be fair.
This person sexually harass another person.
Okay.
Can we talk about this to the other people so that the rest will become victim lah?
Okay. Inshallah. Now, inshallah. The general rule is that yes, if you are discussing somebody's faults to protect other people, that this is allowed. Right? Somebody comes and asks for your daughter, and you ask other people about them. Still on. So you ask other people about them. Is he good? Is he not good? How is he? They're supposed to tell you the truth. Why? Because they're responsible. It's an amana. I'm asking because I need to select the best person for my daughter, and then if they're not suitable, I should know about it. So if a person is guilty of what brother talked about. There's sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, and you know. By the way, it's not just gossip and rumors. Don't spread gossip, don't spread rumors, but you know it to be a reality. So and so who was a victim came and told you. And they said, I'm a victim of that. And to the best of your knowledge, it's true. Best of your knowledge, it is true. Yeah. You try to warn other people if you can, by being, inshallah, you don't have to be very explicit about it, but I'm just suggesting don't be alone with that person. Don't be alone with that person. And if there's any inappropriate this or that, words of that, just come and let me. And if there's anything inappropriate, stop it immediately. Stop it immediately and inform so and so, and call on so and so. So you give them a heads up without you necessarily accusing the person. Okay, where's your proof? How do you know? So and so said, well, where's her proof? But if there is that suspicion, by saying it this way, inshallah, you're standing in the middle by protecting somebody, but not accusing someone necessarily of things that they may not have done.
From anonymous.
All of them are anonymous. I always say.
All of them are anonymous. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
Anonymous sent us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions.
Okay.
So I don't think we can entertain them all. Just one. How to strengthen the heart when their self is not strong?
Okay. So how to strengthen the heart when the self is not strong? You're not strong. Whenever you want to do something, anything new, you're not strong. You're not committed to it. You don't know if you're going to continue. So no one is strong to begin with. But you build up that strength. So you start small. And you try to be consistent. And you ask Allah for support. Right? So as long as you have a plan that I want to be this good person. I want to be pious. I want Jannah. But I'm not strong. I'm weak. One of the killer diseases is postponement. Tasweef. I'll do it later, next week, next year, when I'm older, when I get married, when the kids graduate, when I have more time, later. So at least if you have that intention, you have to recognize Allah's ni'mah, right? Just to give you motivation. If you have that intention, that's ni'mah. This is a blessing from Allah that you have that motivation. Maybe a lot of people don't have it. I want to be better. Okay, good. The second thing is, when is the time for you to be better? Now. Because if you want to be better 10 years from now, you better start now. You want to accumulate good habits, leave bad habits. You want to be closer to Allah. But it's not going to happen immediately. So plan. How do you plan? You plan by adding a few things. Okay? And staying away from the haram. Okay? Begin with the big things. If I'm doing big things that are haram, don't focus on the small haram. Focus on the big thing that is haram. I want to stay away from those big things. And then good things, okay. If it's hard for me, I'm not praying regularly, right? I'm skipping salahs. I'm not telling you go and pray qiyam at night. That doesn't make sense, Just be regular. Just that's it. Be regular in your salah. Don't do sunnahs. Just be regular in your salah. Right? That's it. Don't skip any. Be regular in your salah. And when you find that you have become regular in your salah, that's the time for you to add 1 sunnahs or 2 sunnahs. Okay? The haram, right? You stay away from the big ones when you're strong enough to that. Yes, I've stayed away from those big ones. Now the smaller ones. So gradually you'll become stronger, and throughout and along the way you're asking Allah Azza wa Jal for support, because you will succeed and you'll fail. But failure does not mean that you're a failure. Failure means that you're human. So you're going to fail. And you're going to have some wonderful days and some terrible days. Wonderful weeks and terrible weeks. That's fine. You have to have the terrible weeks. But at least when you have that terrible week, at least you maintain a minimum. At least I'm going to try my salah. At least the basic. At least I'm going to try as much as possible to stay away from the haram. And join others. Go to the masjid, join others, halaqas, study circles, classes, join others, because simply by being here, you're not somewhere else that is bad. So try to be around good people. And with time, inshallah, you are going to gain that strength, inshallah.